Yeah, it's definitely Eubank, because if I don't do Eubank next, that ship sailed. So it has to be Eubank next. If it's not Eubank, then
Conor Benn isn't hiding his emotions. He's laser-focused and burning with a single mission: to get Chris Eubank Jr. back in the ring. For Benn, the rematch isn't just another fight. It's personal. If it doesn't happen now, the story ends unfinished, and his shot at redemption slips through his fingers. He's made it clear: it's Eubank or nothing. Behind Benn's passion, though, looms a harsh reality. Eubank has already beaten him once, and many believe history is destined to repeat itself. When the dust settles, it might be Chris Eubank.
You think you won the fight?
I do think I nicked the fight. I wouldn't have minded it going either way. You know, but the score...
Eubank Jr. standing tall again, reminding the boxing world why he remains a cut above. Still, Benn refuses to back down. He fires back with defiance, insisting he did enough to win and branding the judges' scorecards as outrageous. While he concedes the fight could have gone either way, his unwavering belief in victory exposes a deeper truth. He may still underestimate what it takes to beat a fighter of Eubank's caliber. From timing...
Conor come back, he'd be a better fighter, you know. We've got a lot to go back. Well, not a lot to go back, just to be able to take his time.
In control to ring IQ, Eubank showcased the difference in class. Now, as talks of a rematch heat up, the question isn't whether Benn wants it. It's whether he can handle another dose of Eubank's dominance. Nigel Benn, Conor's father and former world champion, has erupted in fury. He's labeled his son's loss a flat-out robbery and slammed Eubank Jr. as a paper champion. In Nigel's eyes, Conor was off his game, and Eubank capitalized. The elder Benn believes the fight was set up to favor Eubank and is demanding an immediate rematch. This time, he promises a fully focused Conor will dismantle Eubank.
And he's like, I said, mate, I'm so proud of you. That was unbelievable. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I know you lost, but like, you come up 2 weight classes, you fought a much bigger guy, you've been out for 14 months, you gave it.
As far as he's concerned, the real fight hasn't even started. The storm is brewing, emotions are boiling over. Pride is on the line, and promoter Eddie Hearn is already drawing up plans for what could be one of the most explosive rematches in recent memory. Hearn, for his part, hasn't held back in praising Benn. He applauded the sheer guts it took for Conor to step up not just 1, but 2 weight classes to take on a challenge as daunting as Eubank. Hearn gave full credit for Benn's bravery and hunger to chase greatness. But even he admitted the brutal truth. Eubank Jr. was operating...
Like, we'll decide whether we do the rematch or drop down to the natural weight 147 and fight for the world title.
...on another level. From the opening bell, his timing, precision, and calm control shut down Benn's pressure. It wasn't just a win. It was a boxing clinic. And yet, the fire for the sequel burns bright. Tony Sims, Benn's trainer, strongly disputes any notion that Eubank dominated. From his vantage point, Benn was the aggressor, pushing the pace, landing the more telling shots, and showing more urgency. Sims slammed the decision as a robbery, claiming his fighter's hustle, heart, and grit should have been enough to earn the win. He's already plotting the comeback, convinced a sharper Benn...
You saw that. Junior is too big a man. These weights that they are flouting is, they're destroying...
...can flip the script. Still, beneath the talk of redemption and revenge, one fact remains. Chris Eubank Jr.'s composure, experience, and elite ring generalship may once again prove to be the difference. Chris Eubank Sr. delivered a blistering critique of the much-hyped clash between his son and Conor Benn, dismissing it as a brutal mismatch from the opening bell. He slammed Benn's extreme weight-cutting tactics as reckless, calling them an insult to the sport's integrity. According to Eubank Sr., such desperation only revealed how unprepared Benn truly was. In contrast, he praised his son's physical dominance, professionalism, and discipline, traits he believes made the outcome inevitable. For him, no amount of pre-fight hype or conditioning tricks could
I think there's a rematch in the contract, so yeah, there's no doubt that they'll run that one back and do it all over again.
Disguise the glaring gap in class and size. This wasn't a rivalry, he said. It was a masterclass, and Junior taught the lesson. Harlem Eubank didn't hold back in his post-fight reaction either. He took aim at Benn's bravado, accusing him of collapsing under the very spotlight he had sought. Harlem criticized the arrogance Benn displayed in the build-up, claiming it made the loss even more humiliating. From Harlem's perspective, Benn's lack of discipline and mental sharpness were exposed the moment the bell rang. With talk of a rematch swirling, Harlem is confident history will repeat itself, and that Chris Eubank...
Say that, Frank, but there's a contractual rematch and he'll have to get to 160 again.
Yeah, but that's if he fights. If he can't get to 160, then how are they going to do it? If he gets to 160, they'll do it.
Eubank Jr. will dominate again. To him, this wasn't just a win. It was a defining moment, cementing Eubank Jr. as the true force in the division. Promoter Frank Warren, despite his efforts to steer the narrative, couldn't hide the reality. His talk of weight issues and rematch clauses rang hollow in light of what fans had seen: Chris Eubank Jr.'s sheer dominance. While Warren tried to shield Benn's reputation, the truth was obvious. Benn wasn't just beaten, he was exposed. The continued narrative around making 160 again feels more like misdirection than strategy, suggesting a camp more focused on damage control than redemption. Comparisons to...
But over the moon. Yeah. Absolutely over the moon. To see Chris get his hand raised, and it's been a difficult camp, it's been a difficult time. I think everyone's seen the pictures, everyone's seen the stories, everyone's seen what he's had to go through. Fair play to Conor Benn because he was phenomenal as well.
The fallout of Ryan Garcia's loss come to mind. Plenty of noise, few answers. This isn't comeback planning, it's survival mode. Eubank didn't just win, he dismantled the illusion and left Benn's hype in ruins. Ben Shalom, another voice in the aftermath, couldn't contain his pride in Eubank Jr.'s performance. In a fight that was as chaotic as it was charged, Eubank Jr. stepped in with a clear goal and executed with ruthless precision. Shalom praised his fighter's mental toughness, turning a turbulent lead-up into a career-defining statement. While acknowledging Benn's intensity, he was clear: Benn was outclassed by a superior technician. Shalom echoed Eddie Hearn's earlier remarks, calling the bout one of the most gripping and unpredictable in recent British boxing history. But the most revealing part came after the final...
I suppose all that fight really showed us last night that a good big un beats a good little un. They're good, they're not great. So Eubank wins the fight. Where he goes from here in terms of world level, I don't know, because I don't want to pour cold water.
Bell. As Benn scrambled for explanations, Eubank Jr. stood tall, composed, victorious, and unshaken. The fight was more than just a win. It was a reality check. And now, with the rematch in sight, one truth looms large. Conor Benn has everything to prove, while Chris Eubank Jr. only needs to do what he's already done: win. Duke McKenzie didn't hold back in his brutally honest assessment of the fight, making it clear that Chris Eubank Jr. is operating on an entirely different level compared to Conor Benn. McKenzie emphasized that Benn simply couldn't cope with Eubank's power, precision, and intensity, reinforcing why their previous bout served as a clear reminder of Eubank's superiority. He even went as far as to suggest that Benn should seriously reconsider ever stepping back into the ring with Eubank, warning that the outcome is unlikely.
A really good fight. I think it was a lot closer than what it was. Commend Conor Benn immensely because he put on an amazing performance. Remember, he's a welterweight. Never really boxed at world-class level at 160 or around that. Chris has more experience on the world scene than Conor has, but Conor did himself proud. I think the right
to change. The gap in size, skill, and aggression is simply too wide. In McKenzie's view, Eubank is a dangerous and dominant force in the division, while Benn remains clearly outmatched. Any future rematch, McKenzie argues, would only further highlight Eubank's dominance and reinforce the undeniable truth: Eubank Jr. reigns supreme in this matchup. Johnny Nelson offered a more nuanced perspective, acknowledging that the fight was far closer than the scorecards reflected. He commended Conor Benn's courage in stepping up to 160 pounds, a weight class unfamiliar to him, and praised his resilience and tenacity. Nelson highlighted Benn's heart and willingness to keep pressing forward, even when the odds were stacked against him. But he also made it clear that Eubank's world-class experience was the decisive factor. His composure, conditioning, and ability to stay in control.
I don't know if it was so much Conor surprised me how well he boxed because of the way Chris Chris Eubank must have been feeling, because he was, you know, it looked terrible on the scales, absolutely terrible.
Under pressure, ultimately swung the fight in his favor. Nelson concluded that while Benn fought bravely and made it competitive, Eubank's refined skill set, shaped over years at the elite level, secured the rightful win. On the other side, Billy Nelson offered a different take. He admitted surprise at Benn's performance, which exceeded many expectations, but didn't shy away from criticizing Eubank Jr. He was particularly unimpressed with Eubank's appearance on the scales, calling it terrible and questioning his conditioning leading into such a high-stakes fight. In Nelson's view, Eubank looked far from his best, and Benn failed to capitalize on what seemed like a golden opportunity. Rather than a one-sided affair, Nelson saw the fight as a missed chance for Benn and a performance from Eubank that raised as many questions as it answered. Was Eubank's sluggishness a result of physical issues, or did Benn simply not do enough in the ring? Meanwhile, Nigel Benn, Conor's father, would likely have a far different take on the outcome. Known for his fiery opinions and unwavering support for his son, Nigel has already made it clear he believes the fight was a robbery. But as the boxing world debates what truly unfolded, one thing is certain: the conversation is far from over. What do you think Nigel Benn would say about his son's performance? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.